Florida sells sunshine, beaches, and second chances. But after dark, some towns reveal a completely different state. One where the tourism signs stop making sense. These are 20 Florida towns locals say, don't stay after dark. 20. Opa-locka, Miami-Dade. In the 1920s, someone had a dream. They built Opa-locka as a Moorish fantasy. Ornate domes, minarets, streets named after Arabian Nights characters. It was supposed to be magical. It never became what it promised. Today, Opa-locka carries one of the highest violent crime rates in Florida. Poverty sits above 35%. The domes are still there, crumbling quietly above streets where robberies and assaults are routine. The fantasy architecture survived. The dream behind it didn't. This is what happens when a city is built on imagery instead of investment. Beautiful bones. No body to support them. Here are all the remaining entries. 19. Pahokee, Palm Beach County. Pahokee sits on the edge of Lake Okeechobee. The water is beautiful. The sunsets are genuinely stunning, but beauty on the shore doesn't pay bills or fund police departments. When the sugar industry contracted, Pahokee contracted with it. Poverty climbed above 40%. Jobs disappeared and didn't come back. Today, violent crime runs more than 4 times the national average in a town most Floridians couldn't find on a map. The lake is still there. So is everything the tourism brochures leave out. 18. Quincy, Gadsden County. Quincy has a strange financial history. Early residents bought Coca-Cola stock in the 1920s and held it for generations. For a time, Quincy had more millionaires per capita than almost anywhere in America. That wealth never reached the broader community. Today, Gadsden County is consistently Florida's poorest county. Quincy sits at its center with crime rates that reflect decades of economic abandonment. The old millionaire homes are still standing. Most of them are empty. Wealth passed through Quincy without ever really stopping. 17. Avon Park, Highlands County. Avon Park markets itself as a peaceful Central Florida retreat. Lakes, citrus groves, quiet streets. The kind of place retirees consider before doing more research. That research changes things. Violent crime here runs consistently double the national average. Meth trafficking routes cut through the agricultural backroads connecting rural Highlands County to larger distribution networks. The orange groves are real. So are the routes running through them. Avon Park is proof that rural charm and rural danger are not mutually exclusive. 16. Gifford, Indian River County. Gifford doesn't even qualify as a city. It's an unincorporated community tucked near Vero Beach, a place with no city government, no dedicated municipal police force, and chronically underfunded services. That absence shows. Violent crime rates here are among the highest on the Treasure Coast. But because Gifford lacks official city status, it rarely appears in statewide crime rankings. It stays invisible by technicality. The danger, however, is not technical. It is very real. Gifford is the kind of place that falls through every crack in the system simultaneously. 15. Pompano Beach, North End, Broward County. The south end of Pompano Beach has yachts, waterfront restaurants, and new development. The north end shares the same city name and almost nothing else. North Pompano carries violent crime rates among the highest in Broward County. The divide here isn't subtle. It is a hard line drawn by decades of unequal investment. Same zip code on paper. Completely different realities in practice. In Pompano Beach, the wrong turn doesn't just take you somewhere unfamiliar. It takes you somewhere the city's own marketing refuses to acknowledge exists. 14. Lake City, Columbia County. Lake City sits where I-75 meets I-10. Millions of drivers pass through every year without stopping. That is exactly the right instinct. Major interstate interchanges attract more than truck stops and fast food. They attract trafficking routes. Lake City became a corridor for drug distribution moving through North Florida. Robbery rates at gas stations and budget motels here are disproportionately high for a town this size. Lake City is not a destination. It was never meant to be. Keep driving. That is not a criticism. That is the locals giving you the best advice they have. 13. Belle Glade, Palm Beach County. Belle Glade is known for 2 things: football and suffering. It has produced an extraordinary of NFL players from conditions of extraordinary poverty. The documentaries came, the cameras left. The conditions stayed. Poverty sits above 40%. HIV rates here were historically among the highest in the entire nation. Violent crime runs multiple times the national average. The football glory was real and it was earned. But it was earned against a backdrop that no highlight reel ever showed. Belglade is what happens when a community's resilience becomes its entire story and nobody fixes what made resilience necessary. 12. Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County. Palm Beach is minutes away. One of the wealthiest zip codes in America. Old money, ocean estates, manicured everything. Riviera Beach sits in its shadow with violent crime rates that consistently rank among Florida's worst. The proximity doesn't help. It highlights. When extreme wealth and extreme poverty share a county line, the contrast doesn't create opportunity, it creates pressure. In Riviera Beach, you can see the wealth across the water. That view doesn't change anything about the street you're standing on. Some shadows are cast by things so bright they blind you to what's underneath. 11. Eatonville, Orange County. Eatonville is genuinely significant, America's oldest incorporated black municipality, birthplace of Zora Neale Hurston, a community that built something real and lasting when the odds were completely against it. That history is real. So is what surrounds it now. Greater Orlando sprawl expanded in every direction except inward toward Eatonville. Investment went around it. Infrastructure improvements bypassed it. Today, the town is economically stranded, underfunded, and struggling. The historical markers are accurate. The present reality is that significance and stability are not the same thing. 10. Immokalee, Collier County. Collier County is one of the wealthiest counties in Florida. Naples sits on its coast with waterfront homes and manicured golf courses. Immokalee sits inland, invisible. It produces a significant portion of America's winter tomatoes. The workers who pick them live in conditions that bear no resemblance to the county they technically belong to. Poverty, overcrowding, limited infrastructure, and crime rates that tell a story Collier County's tourism board never will. Immokalee is what the wealthy parts of Florida are built on. It just never gets mentioned in the same sentence. 9. Sanford, Seminole County. You know why you know Sanford? That wound is still open. Beneath the national story is a city with deep economic divisions that predate the headlines and outlasted them. Poverty pockets persist throughout neighborhoods that a downtown revival touched only at the edges. The revitalization is real but selective. Sanford is a city carrying more weight than its size should require. Some of that weight is history, some of it is present tense. After dark, the parts of Sanford that never made the news are still there, still unresolved, still waiting for something that hasn't arrived. 8. Fort Pierce, St. Lucie County. Fort Pierce has been in the middle of a downtown revival for roughly 20 years. Progress exists. It is just unevenly distributed. Violent crime rates here rank among the highest in the state. Locals have a clear mental map of which neighborhoods you navigate carefully and which ones you avoid entirely after dark. That mental map doesn't appear on any visitor's guide. The Treasure Coast branding is about beaches and fishing and slower living. Fort Pierce earned that branding in parts. The other parts earned something else entirely. A city doesn't get to choose which statistics define it. 7. Overtown, Miami-Dade. Overtown was once called the Harlem of the South, a thriving black cultural district with jazz clubs, businesses, and a community that built itself from the ground up. Then Interstate 95 was routed directly through it. The decision was made in the 1960s. The neighborhood's heart was demolished. Thousands were displaced. What remained was never rebuilt into what it was. The highway is still there, elevated above the streets, casting a literal shadow over what it destroyed. In Overtown, the danger is inseparable from the history. You cannot understand one without confronting the other. 6. Perry, Taylor County. Perry sits in North Florida's Pine Belt, surrounded by forests and not much else. It is small, isolated, and quiet in a way that takes a moment to read correctly. Violent crime here is disproportionate to its size. History of racial tension stretches back generations and never fully resolved. The timber industry that sustained Perry has largely moved on, leaving behind an economy with few replacements and a community absorbing the long-term costs. Perry is the kind of town where the silence isn't peaceful. It's the sound of something that already happened and never got addressed. 5. Hastings, St. Johns County. St. Johns County is one of Florida's wealthiest, fastest-growing counties. New developments, top-rated schools, master-planned communities expanding in every direction. Hastings exists inside that county like a parallel dimension. Agricultural poverty, crumbling infrastructure, and crime rates that have no business existing in one of Florida's most prosperous counties. Hastings is a potato farming community that the surrounding boom simply bypassed. The wealth is close enough to see, close enough that the distance between them is the most brutal part of the story. 4. Midway, Gadsden County. Midway sits minutes from Tallahassee. Florida's lawmakers drive past it on the way to work. Gadsden County is Florida's poorest county consistently, year after year, by almost every metric. Midway sits quietly at its center, underfunded and overlooked in ways that are difficult to justify, given its proximity to the state capital. The people making budget decisions can see this community from their office windows. That has not translated into meaningful change. Midway is proof that proximity to power and access to power are entirely different things. 3. Fellsmere, Indian River County. Fellsmere has a Frog Leg Festival, a genuine, well-attended, locally beloved Frog Leg Festival. Population under 6,000. Rural charm that is entirely authentic. It also carries one of the highest violent crime rates per capita in the entire state of Florida. Small towns can have large numbers. Fellsmere proves it. Limited municipal resources, geographic isolation, and economic stagnation created conditions where crime scaled up while the population didn't. The festival still happens every year. The crime rate doesn't take a weekend off. 2. Florida City, Miami-Dade. Florida City is the gateway to the Florida Keys and Everglades National Park. Millions of tourists pass through every single year, eyes already fixed on the horizon, minds already on the water. Florida City itself has a violent crime rate that consistently ranks among the worst in the state. The road to paradise literally runs through one of Florida's most dangerous towns. Most people never notice. They're already mentally somewhere else. Florida City exists in that gap between where people are going and what they drive through to get there. 1. Opa-locka, Miami-Dade. We started here. We end here. Because Opa-locka isn't just a dangerous town, it is a complete summary of everything on this list. Fantasy built without foundation. Investment that never arrived. Infrastructure that crumbled while the skyline 30 miles north kept rising. A poverty rate above 35%. Violent crime that never stopped climbing. And a city government that has faced corruption investigations so repeatedly, it became routine. Opa-locka is what Florida looks like when the sunshine economy forgets a zip code entirely and never looks back. The domes are still standing, ornate, cracked, and completely out of place against everything surrounding them. That is not an accident. That is the whole story. Florida doesn't hide its darkness, it decorates it. Palm trees, ocean breeze, permanent sunshine. The branding is flawless, but these 20 towns are what the postcard economy leaves behind. The next time you're watching exit signs blur past on I-95, remember, some of those exits lead somewhere the GPS will never warn you about.